Unsung narrative, young dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us, and y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest, but I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops my soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And we're
Raise
live
the glass.
once again. Tuesday, little sports nonsense and whiskey, hanging out with the fellas. Pinky, Robert, how we doing this evening? Cheers, fellas.
Oh, buddy.
Dude, I'm still riding that high from the movie yesterday, but that'll be later topics. I can't believe that like I said, movie of the year. We'll save the rest of the commentary for later.
Fair.
So, Pinky, how are you doing?
Buddy, I'm good. I'm tired from that movie last night as well, but we made it through the day. I'm ready to talk some sports. I kind of feel like I didn't talk to you guys in a while. I don't know why. Maybe our chat wasn't popping today. I don't know.
It was not. It was pretty dead.
I was slinging those policies though, so I was doing my thing.
Yeah, you're
What'd I
number
do?
one in not a good way for me. I didn't do jack, but that's all right. There's always tomorrow.
And it's Metallica week, so I'm ready.
And I move into my new apartment. Woo! So that's all exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
as you can
excited.
see, big things happening here with sports nonsense and whiskey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So I'll be having a new background again for like the fourth time again. One of these days I'll just have a permanent setup and it'll be nice and I won't have to worry about it ever again. But
One of these days I'll get a setup.
all right, you know what? All right, yeah, okay, you beat me there. That's fair. At least my setup travels with me and yeah, okay.
Yeah. Hey,
Caleb,
just
what's new
get
with
this. Just this is what you get.
What's been going on in Caleb's world?
Chilling, man. Chilling, talking to people how the dead season no longer exists. And there's plenty of sports straight on through these days. So
Amen.
look, there's
Can I comment on that real quick?
By all means.
I gotta get on that. I actually had a guy. I don't see him very often, but he came up to the fourth floor today at work, and he was waiting for one of the guys, and so I was going over to chat with him. He was like, "Pinky, what are you gonna do, man? All the sports are done." And I was like, "Thank God I watch wrestling, bro." And he just shook his head. He was like, and I was just like, "Hey, man, it's different than when we first grew up. There's a lot more athleticism. There's a lot more stuff that goes on." And again, I like my stories, so at least I'm still happy.
As Caleb said, the dead season doesn't exist here anymore. When I first came on, yes, that was a very true statement. But there are plenty of sports we talk about and cover. It is fantastic. Plenty of things to go around still. So yeah, there is no dead season here on Sports Nonsense and Whiskey, ladies and gentlemen.
Besides, we don't even talk about baseball really.
That's okay.
And there's some great baseball. I know I'm not gonna bore you guys, all right? There's some great baseball stuff going on right now. There's a boy out in Seattle. If you remember correctly, I told you when the season started, pay attention. Seattle could be an interesting team. They got a guy up there that's doing some work right now.
He's mashing right now.
Some work, okay? Ohtani back on the mound. Judge and the Yankees. Baltimore starting to look like they might figure it out. Atlanta's starting to look like they might figure it out. Like there's a lot of good stuff in baseball to talk about. It just these guys really could care less. We do talk postseason. They catch up enough to watch some postseason. And we talk about that a little bit. So, and if there's really big stories, I let them know, and then we do discuss. But for those baseball fans, it's just not something as a whole we discuss. But to baseball, congrats. You got some good stuff going on right now.
Yeah, if you like baseball, this is not the podcast
Probably
for
not the
you.
podcast for you, unfortunately. Look, if I talk baseball, you're just gonna hate me. Okay, I'll talk it with you all day. I love it. Like I'm good.
Just
I
like how
just
we
don't.
always talk about soccer. Just kidding.
Yeah, just don't see eye to eye with baseball people. Apparently, like we don't see the game the same way. Soccer we don't talk about because Pinky could care less, and I don't pay attention enough to be able to really discuss it on the competitive level, i.e., the Premier League, Champions League. I'll watch some National League stuff. UEFA Champions, obviously World Cup. I pay attention enough to that.
FIFA
stuff to
Club
know.
World Cup is happening right now.
Yeah, not even watching that, but there's been some upsets.
Big.
Yeah, some big ones for sure. Like I pay attention enough to see the big stuff. I don't watch it though to be able to discuss it. That's the problem. And I do love the sport. Robert knows I do love the sport, but like
I watch it still religiously.
when we're
well,
talking,
I mean, it is off season for them a little bit. That's why the Club World Cup's happening.
Exactly. But when we're talking, basketball and football and then F1 and all the other little stories that pop up here and there, I do watch baseball, but we're not talking about I already have a lot to watch. So, trying to then keep up with, professional soccer that's on a completely different time zone schedule makes it even more difficult. So
I mean, we watch F1.
It is
so
what it is.
The argument could be made. The argument could be made because we do watch F1, but I'm not going to go down Pandora's box on this.
Well, the difference though is I can watch F1 while I'm taking care of the kids and still know what's going down, whereas I could miss something for 2 minutes in soccer and I miss the whole game.
That's fair.
So it just becomes a little more difficult, but we try our best to discuss major things and love all sports, and that's the way it is. So tonight we're going to discuss NHL finals briefly, NBA finals a little bit more in depth, discuss some NBA offseason stuff, trades, draft tomorrow night. Got a little bit of an NBA topic that moves into some NFL, a little NFL conversation, and then we've got our nonsense. So, F1 too. Robert, we got the race coming up. So a little
got
F1.
some stuff
So
to go over there.
slate. We can start diving in, ladies and gentlemen. NHL, Stanley Cup Finals, Florida Panthers, back-to-back. Cheers to Florida Panthers. You are dominant once again. How are we feeling, boys?
I mean, I just have to say the best part had to come afterwards when I forget the name of the player. And so again, who was ringing all of his neighbors' doorbells like, hey, and then there was the one player who after everything had shut down, the employees were closing up. He brought the cup back out for them to celebrate. So I thought that was pretty cool. Don't really see a lot of that, just paying respect to the people that help, take care of the people who come to see you. So major respect there. Definitely got a good ticky mark on my book for the Panthers on that, because everybody deserves to participate in that. That's a pretty big deal.
I think I saw a stat. This is the first time a Sean is now going to be engraved on the cup. Like nobody else with the name of Sean.
Interesting.
Sean. Okay. I don't know if there's others. There's a couple different versions of Sean, but there's not been a Sean with that spelling. This will be the first one. Cool. I will say, in my realm, I always like to watch the celebrations, the parade stuff. That's always some fun content. Stanley Cup stuff. They do such crazy stuff with the cup that it's really enjoyable. I will say, I thought it was pretty cool that Fanatics / WWE was very quick to get the Florida Panthers their title belt, and it literally has the Stanley Cup in the middle of the belt with the Panthers as the side plates. Very cool. I was like, damn. Like the Nuggets one was pretty cool when it first came out, but this one I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And they're already selling it, so you could buy it on the Fanatics
Did
website.
They not do this for the Avs when they won?
So the first time they made the belt was the Nuggets championship, because Chris Brown had it. And that was like the first time they did it. And now every time they basically create that belt pretty quick and have it there for the parade.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
Quick note, I think if I remember correctly, Barkov, the Conn Smythe winner and the captain, was the one who brought the cup out to the employees cleaning up the arena and stuff to celebrate with them. Absolutely cool moment. Marchand went to town with the cup, well-deserved, longtime vet, won a cup decade ago plus, I think now, with Boston. Got another one here with Florida after playing his whole career with Boston, not even wanting to be traded last year, getting down there and this year, and then winning the cup with them. So cool story there. Their goalie, Bobrovsky, stepped up once again, looking like, if not the best, one of the best goaltenders in the league. And then, moving over to the other side after congratulating Florida, what does Edmonton do moving forward? McDavid,
They go back and cry home to mama because they lost again.
Nah, man. No, not like that. McDavid looked noticeably frustrated multiple times during that series. And then after the series comes out and basically blames it on the coaching staff, for lack of a better way of saying it, because he basically said something to the effect of, I don't know why we kept doing the same shit over and over again. Like, why didn't we make adjustments? Why didn't we change something? You're not going to win if you do that. So then he said, I'm going to look at my future and take the off season. I'm going to kind of see what happens. And that kind of sounds like a guy who doesn't want to re-sign in Edmonton long term. If that's the case, I mean, so this is, it's not just losing the Stanley Cup back-to-back years. It's the way they lost both years. Game 7 last year, after coming back down 3-0 to force a Game 7. This year, didn't they win Game 1 in overtime?
Yes, they did.
Lost Game 2 and 3 in overtime.
A statistical anomaly.
Yeah, so, and then losing in 5, not even getting another game after that. Rough couple years for Edmonton, and then your starter starts talking the way he has been. It doesn't send a lot of hope and potential going into the offseason moving forward. So very interesting to see how Edmonton handles this.
As Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses said, where do we go now?
Yeah, that'll work.
That absolutely works.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, very, very much high and low with that Stanley Cup final.
Moving on to next year. The Avs.
Let's go Red Wings!
The best odds for the Stanley Cup. As it sits today.
Avs currently have the best odds?
As it sits today.
I did not see that.
Yeah. There was another team that's tied with them, but they were at the top of the list. According to Vegas odds. I don't think it was, actually.
That's wild. Yeah, I did not see that today. I would not have guessed that. I like what Colorado can do going into next season, but they had a chance to beat Dallas and they couldn't this year. So then Dallas looked like they were the favorite and then they got smoked.
Yeah, it's okay, actually it's a 3-way tie. Sorry. Okay. 3-way tie. Avs, Oilers, Panthers.
Wow.
Plus 700.
Interesting.
So,
who's fourth?
The Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Who have continued to let down. And
great regular season and can't get over that hump in the playoffs, can they?
So should be interesting. I am going to make it a point. We did not get an Avs game this year. I am going to make it a point to get one next year. I did not get one this year.
That is also I've only ever been to a CC game. I've never actually been. So actually, Caleb, you'll find this to be pretty interesting. Now it wasn't for a game or anything. Just my grandmother's neighbor used to do a lot of the sports reporting for Detroit. And took me on to the Joe Louis Arena Ice. So I got to go to the Big Joe before it was taken down to be Little Caesars, and actually have a practice Red Wings cup from there. So
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's
I know you
solid.
guys are big Avs guys, but that is a very cherished memory of mine from sports.
No, any
Just a little bit
historical
of
thing like
history.
that.
So,
I can
again,
appreciate that. Like I've got one of my best memories is running onto Memorial Field back
there
in
you
the
go.
mid-90s when Nebraska was winning national championships, walking through the weight room and seeing the offensive lineman lift. I'll tell you what, I will never forget the size of those human beings. Like absolutely absurd.
Damn, that was 20 years ago. That's older than me in some cases.
30
I
years
mean,
ago.
I'm turning 29 in a couple weeks, so we do a podcast show before my birthday, so we better make it a good one.
So yeah, I can
do our
respect
best.
something historical like that, especially as a kid getting to experience that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was a junior or a sophomore junior in high school, so
Nice.
that was a very
Pinky,
cool
my
experience.
sister got a cheerlead as little kid, like 5 years old maybe at Old Mile High before it got turned down. Junior Denver Bronco cheerleader. She got to go up
Right.
there, and my mom got a ticket to the game to watch the game, or my mom and dad both got to go or something. My brother and I were pissed. Like, hold up. She's
Hold
doing
on.
what? Can we join now? How do we go? What do we need to do here?
You keep your ass at home.
So yeah, she got to go do that at halftime or something of a game one year. That pretty cool stuff. So
Nice.
yeah, you got stories like that, share them, man. Those are fun, cool little memories that, to me, like, I hope to give my kids some kind of memory like that rather than just like an autograph as some dude walks by. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those seem to be more lasting and more fun, if you will, than just like you got a piece of paper with some dude's signature on it hanging on a wall and that's all you got. So
True.
we'll see what happens. As time progresses. But yeah, Stanley Cup. Speaking of good sports memories, touched that. Looked at it right in the eyes, snuck a little boop, boop. Thanks,
Beep.
Lord Stanley. Boop. Thank you. I'm on my way.
Mm.
So I've always been fond of that cup, that trophy, and that only added to the fondness. But it really comes from, and we talk about this every year. Like even if you don't like hockey, like if you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's kind of hard not to enjoy it. It's just a different level of entertainment in sports and energy and chaos at times that is hard to not enjoy. So it'll be interesting to see what. I am surprised Colorado is tied with Edmonton and Florida there. See what happens.
Interesting off season for sure.
Yeah, there's already been some moves. I saw Zegras got moved to Philadelphia from Anaheim. Is it still Anaheim? It's Anaheim, right? Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
They haven't changed to Los Angeles.
No.
They used to be like the Anaheim Angels, now they're the Los Angeles Angels. So, and before that, they were the California Angels. Like, you got to be. Sometimes I get confused when they're all in the same city. If they're not really in the city, which name are they going by these days? You know what I mean?
True.
Anyways, congratulations once again, Florida.
Way
You're
to
a
go,
hockey
Panthers.
state. Deal with it. I don't know what else to say. You're a hockey state.
How the times have changed, ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't it like two of the last 7 champions have come from Florida? Or 2 of the last 4 champions have come from Florida, and 4 of the last 7 championships, I think, something like that. Because Tampa won back-to-back. Now Florida's won back-to-back. Avs won in between there.
And they've been in 6 finals.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, not a bad place to play hockey, I guess. No state tax. Nice weather when you're not on the ice. Pretty good setup, I guess.
You can get the hell out of there during the summer months with the humidity. You can go back to Russia
in
or
your
Europe,
off season,
wherever you're from.
Peace back home. Go back to Canada, since at least 50% of every hockey roster is from our northern bordered friends.
The 51st state.
Nope, not doing that. Nope, no sir, not doing that.
Just had to throw that out there.
You can cancel that, man. Just don't cancel all of us, okay? That's all I'm asking. So, moving along to the next championship that has since been decided from our last conversation, gentlemen. Congratulations, Oklahoma City Thunder. You finished one of the best seasons in NBA history. Whether people want to agree with that or not, statistically speaking, that's what the record book shall show. One of only, I want to say 7 teams, if I remember correctly, to have won more than 80 games in a season, regular season and postseason combined. 68 regular season wins, the NBA championship at the end of the season. I mean, it's MVP, finals MVP, both on your team, really young roster. It's hard to not like and be excited about what they accomplished and did this year.
Really young is an understatement. They couldn't even open the champagne bottles correctly.
Yeah, so I'm a little surprised by that, I guess is the best way to put it. Maybe the youthful education through high school and college is just different these days, but I'd have thought there would have been a little bit more excitement. And I don't mean necessarily drinking, but they learned how to pop some bottles. They popped some bottles, and then they pretty much just like abandoned the party. It was wild. Reporters didn't know what to do. Media was completely confused, had no idea what to try and cover after that. They started doing like family photos with the trophy. Nobody was in the locker room. There was just a bunch of the alcohol and everything left over. So, and like a lot of like, I don't think most of them could drink. I feel like most of that team's at least 21. They just don't. So good for them. Like by no means, like good for you. If that's not your thing, cool. Move on. Go celebrate your own way. I don't care. It was just such and I think that's what makes this team even more unique and fun to really dive into as the years go on, is the fact that wasn't their jam. And they've kind of said that all year. Like there's a lot of camaraderie. They're younger. They don't really go out and party. They're more stay at home with their families, video games, hang out with each other kind of stuff. They're not as much in the nightlife. Maybe part of that is being in Oklahoma City. There's not a lot of that to do. But that's just kind of their character anyways. And it's part of why I think this team was so close, is they all kind of have that same vibe of they're not really that necessarily party nightlife type of crowd. Like they like themselves a good party. It's just not what they necessarily like. They're more homebodies. And the fact that they're all kind of like that and they just love the game and they love to ball is part of the reason why they're able to bond and get along so well and then go out there and translate that onto the court. So, Pinky, I know you're not a huge fan of their offensive game. I would argue that, but I know we both agree on the fact that when you play that kind of aggressive team togetherness type of defense, whether people want to talk about how they hold or they hack or they get away with a lot or not, I've said it, you've said it, if you're going to be the more aggressive team and the other team's not going to step up to that challenge, the refs are going to let you get away with a little bit more usually.
Well, they're not going to blow the whistle every play.
Yeah. So I think them being able to do that and then know who they are on the offensive end and stay consistent, even through this series when they could have panicked. They believed in themselves. They knew what they had. They got home to Game 7, and they took home the trophy, and it was incredible. Well done. Love SGA's game. Really love Jalen Williams' game, and we can talk about that more later. I think Chet is a huge piece. I talked about last week or the week before how him and Wemby are not that much different. The gap's not as big as people want to believe. Their games are very similar.
It's gigantic. Don't even start.
It's not gigantic. It's truly
gigantic. Not. Chet is such a bitch.
Oh, man.
He was awful in that Game 7.
Game 7. His defense in Game 7 was incredible.
Everything else sucked.
And
it was noticeable.
The same amount of touches and number one option in the offense. I bet he puts up almost identical numbers to Wemby. Like, they're just not that much different. They're not. And
absolutely
that's part of the reason why OKC was able to do what they did. Is when you have that kind of talent as your third option, maybe even fourth some nights, depending on who's coming off the bench and shooting hot, and he's willing to play that role, it's a huge asset. A lot of questions going forward with the new CBA setup that's been talked about plenty over the last year or two. The second apron, you have that many so-called stars on your team that want to get max contracts, they're very unlikely you're able to afford or pay those taxes to keep them all. So
they've got like a year or two before they have to worry about that. Though,
they do.
don't they?
They do. But I'm just saying, like, long term, what does that look like? They've got a lot of draft picks, but you still got to hit on them. And they've been fortunate enough to do so up to this point, enough to fill out a roster for a championship. But you want to talk about dynasty, I could throw some water on that real quick, because they needed a game 7 against Denver, and Denver was basically down 2 starters for that game 7 due to injury. You win the championship against Indiana, they end up losing one of their top guys at the beginning of the game in a game 7. So while things felt, I didn't want to bring that up to begin with, because they did earn it. Like, part of earning a championship is the attrition of the season, right, Pinky? You talk about it all the time. You got to be healthy enough to get through it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we can make the argument the Celtics' great season last year in the playoffs, every team they played were down their top guy. Every single team lost their top guy during the Celtics series. So that was an easier path than normal, right? That's not their fault. They had to still go out there and do it. I give Oklahoma City a lot of credit. I actually said last year that I thought Oklahoma City would come out this year and be a really good team. And they did. They proved me right. And I said that because they have so much young talent. They've got a good organization. And again, when you have 2 guys that have a similar game of going to the hole and putting the ball up and getting fouls, they generate points consistently. I have some issues with some of it. I see a lot of things. I actually think Jalen Williams is actually a little bit better than SGA, because SGA pushes off every single time he goes to the hoop. Every single time. Every single time he does the arm out, it's a full arm extension. He gets the guy off of him, he shoots, and then they get a foul call. And I'm like, wait, he pushed the guy first. How are we calling a foul? But they're not calling it. They're not calling it. But this also proves, I think this would prove my point. If Jordan played,
I was going to ask you about this, so I'm glad you brought this up.
Jordan's mid-range game was deadly most nights. Most nights he was deadly. And then at times he had the ability to dribble around people and go right to the hole. In today's game where you can't touch anybody, he's going to the hole a majority of the time. His mid-range deadly. He's going to spend half his time at the free throw line. I don't see how Jordan doesn't average 40. And some people try to argue, like, no. I'm like, well, he averaged, like, what was it, 37 one year? You're telling me he couldn't average 40 in a time where you can't touch nobody? When he would get fouled all the time and not get it called? Like, he didn't have as many and ones as they get today. So I think he would definitely average after watching SGA play almost all year, I might say he might put up 45 average. Because he just spent half his time at the free throw line.
Oh, he's going to throw up his jersey number, huh? Every night. I mean, look.
Every night.
I've talked to you about it. I don't know why people are so against this thought process when Jordan is arguably the most prolific scorer in NBA history. I think you bring up a great point in the fact that if you look at SGA's game this year and how he averaged, what did he average? 32, I think, this season, 31, right in there. It'd be hard to say that Jordan wouldn't do it better than what SGA did, in which case, then yes, he would average more points. So you throw in a couple extra buckets to that and you're at 40 pretty easily. So it's pretty wild thought to think that that is a capable thing night in and night out. But look, I've talked about a lot with you guys being a 3-level scorer in the NBA and how rare it is in today's game, a true 3-level scorer. I mean, you got to be able to play with your back to the basket, have a mid-range game, and be able to shoot from the 3. There's few guys that can do that in the league in today's game. And a lot of it is missing the mid-range. And when you can consistently score from that free throw line extended, I mean, it just it opens up a whole new layer of options for you on the offensive side of the ball because of how spaced out the game is today. And people always think the spacing is so you can be past the 3-point line. And really there's this whole little opening there that not many people take advantage of. So SGA found it. He's using it to his advantage. And I think one of the things about his game is whether he pushes off every time or not, the one thing he does do really well is he has a spot on the floor that he prefers. And he gets to that spot more often than not. And if he gets to that spot, he's fairly automatic. And that's that free throw line elbow extended area.
Oh,
And he'll
absolutely.
come across the face of the lane to get to those spots. And once he gets there, it's a nice little 15 to 18-foot jumper for him that he can bury because he's long. And he shoots from a heightened place on his jump shot. It's not from a lower place. So when he jumps and uses his length and the ball is coming from a lot further and higher away for most people to be able to block.
And he pushed you off. It helps.
I'm just saying. So some interesting things there for sure going forward with Oklahoma City. On the other side, Indiana, after the season they had and the run they had, absolute heartbreak. Absolute heartbreak. And the moment Halliburton went down, you could almost see that air never got reinflated into that team. Like they were there, but it looked like they just couldn't find that gear again. And look, let's be honest. You want to play what if games? Halliburton came out on fire. He looked like he was coming out to etch his name in the record books in NBA lore as far as Game 7 NBA Finals go. Like he looked like he was about to rise and ready for that moment. And to see him go down after the way he started and the way that game started, honestly, I mean, it looked like it was going to be an electric Game 7.
That was gruesome because, like, you can literally just see that thing snap.
Yeah, it was.
Because I was leaving. We were having dinner with some friends. We left, went to Buffalo Wild Wings to meet up with my buddy Zach, and I saw the alert on my phone. I get into the bar and they're doing the replay and it's like you could just see it. It was just like snap, and you're like, oh damn! Like there's no question that was Achilles, like none.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like,
lower leg injury.
So,
lower leg injury.
From there, it just looked like they never could quite find that gear again.
Well, they didn't. They don't. I mean, McConnell's cool and all, but he can't attack the way Halliburton can. And Halliburton can attack and then dish. They didn't have a guy that could replicate that. So as soon as, OKC kind of tightened up the defense in the second half, it was a wrap.
Yeah, I think Halliburton I want to say he was third team All-NBA. They didn't have another All-NBA player on their team. So not that they're not a good team and the run they had. I mean, look, we're talking about context and injuries on OKC's side. Indy had a nice little luck advantage run as well to their advantage. I mean, the way they were able to get Milwaukee after Dame went down.
They got the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell hurting halfway through the series.
Yeah, first round with Donovan Mitchell and some of the other issues they had there. Garland was maybe still hurt and Mobley, there was some issues there. So that was to their advantage. New York, were they worn down again? You got to wonder a little bit with the issues they had last year with that. And then again, the way they looked in the Eastern Conference Finals after beating Boston. I mean, they got Boston beat even before. I think they were going to beat Boston even before Tatum went down. So it looked like New York was ready to roll, right?
They put all that energy into beating Boston.
That's what it felt like, right? And then they had no gas left, so you got a no-gas New York to get to the finals. And then people like us are saying gentlemen's sweep. And, a lot of the media was saying the same thing. I will caveat with I said every game would be close, so I didn't think it was going to be a blowout series. Just they wouldn't be able to quite get over OKC. I was horribly wrong on that even. Indiana came to ball and play. And to get to a game 7 and then have your leader, your star player, your dude on the court, who we want to talk about magical runs, the shots he had hit in this playoff run to get them to where they were.
Dude, that's like losing your quarterback in the NFL. You lose your quarterback, you're pretty much done. And that's pretty much how it went down.
It's not even, but it's even more than, I mean, it's losing Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Just devastating. Absolutely devastating. So I felt so bad for Indy. And let's be honest, you could tell OKC felt that as well. Like,
right.
Just as pure competitors, they felt that weight as well. They're like, damn, we're not going to, almost like
Can't
they
seal
knew people
the
were going to say, yeah, but after it. And that's unfortunate because that's not what I'm trying to do right now by any means. I'm just trying to talk from an Indiana perspective and the what if and the heartbreak. So what do they do going forward, right? I mean, Hallie's out all next year recovering from Achilles. So they're going to lose a year after being in the finals, taking OKC to game 7. And now you're going to lose a year from your star dude.
Tragic.
Celtics are in the same spot.
And get better, right? You got Mathurin looking really good in the finals, starting to show up and play ball. Siakam said this group and this team, this organization, this city helped him find the love of the game again, and he doesn't want to be anywhere else. So are guys willing to take some cuts and stick together? Are guys going to ball out next year to then move on and go somewhere else? And then what do they look like when Hallie comes back? You know, OKC's got a lot of questions, but they're completely different questions for their roster and how they're going to build it than what Indiana's got to look at and deal with now. And that's wild. Absolutely wild. And you want proof positive of that? Moving into NBA offseason, trades, draft, free agency, and the like. Look what Boston's now done. Boston's looking to completely unload and change their entire roster by all accounts, outside of Brown and Tatum.
They already waved the white flag, man. They're done.
I don't think that's what they're doing, Pinky. Trading Drew Holiday, yeah, that's a vet leaving who's a great defender. Anthony Simmons, he's no slouch. That dude can ball, and he's young. So to get him from Portland, it was odd move from Portland in my mind. Why are you bringing in the vet Drew Holiday? You got a lot of young talent already at that position. I mean, you're trying to make Scoot Henderson your future. Now you're bringing in somebody to basically take his I'm not quite sure what Portland's doing, but it kind of makes sense for Boston. You move on from Kristaps Porzingis, another big contract.
Right.
Injury issues. Okay, well, I guess that's not terrible. You're getting some stuff in return, right? Like, they're going to overhaul this whole roster.
Not really. They actually just unloaded his contract for the most part.
That's what they're getting back in return, is they're not paying that second apron tax.
They got a second-round pick and something like a backup player for him.
That's what the new ownership wants to do. Remake the roster and get back under the salary cap. At least the taxpayer. So, do they keep Brown and Tatum? Is next year's basically Brown's audition to say, I can be the one and only star and we can build around me? And that does give him leverage to move Tatum after he comes back from injury? Do they think they can still win with both of them? They're going to build around both of them?
I don't think they move Tatum. I
think you got to move one of them, personally. I don't think you can win another championship with both of them on the roster moving forward, because you'll never get as deep as you just were this season. I don't think they'll ever be able to be that deep again.
I think that their starting five only played. They were like the Nuggets starting five. They only played like 51 games together.
Al Horford is aging. He's not going to be around much longer. I mean, they got to make some big decisions still, but they're willing to go all in. Brad Stevens is a genius, the way he's moved these pieces around in these last couple of years, and offloaded and make this a championship team and give them a window. So I don't doubt the moves he's making, and I think he's got a plan. I'm interested to see what else he does. But Boston's reshaping themselves, and they're doing it on the fly quickly. who else is going to do the same? Washington? Surprisingly, Washington is kind of, they're like, let's give us all the vet max deals that are awful that only have like a year left. And then we'll do drafting this year. And we just got the first last year and or the second last year. I can't remember, Sarich, I think. And then give us whoever we get this year. Looks like it could be Ace Bailey, I think, is kind of who people are projecting to go to Washington right now. Forward out of Rutgers. That could be insanely good. You know, that's a different remake, but they look like they're trying to remake. They got rid of Jordan Poole's awful contract in some of those deals. So, you know, taking on something that has a bad contract, but only for a year rather than like 3, and being able to then completely reset the roster, that's interesting. San Antonio decided to stay out of the Kevin Durant sweepstakes because they didn't want to give up what was potentially some of the really good young pieces that they like and want to build around with Wemby in Castle. And they just acquired De'Aaron Fox last year. Looks like they could be adding Harper, the guard out of Rutgers, who is right now projected to them at 2. Really good guard, really good. But then they're going to be kind of overloaded at a position ever so slightly with Castle and Fox and Harper. But you really could play all of them in Wemby and then just find another big. And that could be dangerous. So it's interesting to see what they do on the fly in remaking themselves. Love what Houston did getting Durant and Phoenix did getting rid of him. I think it was as close to a win-win trade as you can get for what each organization is trying to do right now. I think a big question mark will be what Green becomes. I think there's still a lot of meat left on the bones for him to develop into a true star in the league and a really good first option scorer. But there's also some potential that what he's shown us kind of this year and in the playoffs run is kind of his ceiling, which isn't bad. It's a really nice player, but it's not going to be your one option. And Houston still has Seguin. They still got, gosh dang it, I'm drawing a blank. Amen Thompson or Asur Thompson. I can't remember which Thompson is there now. But they got the Thompson. They've got, the other forward. Why am I drawing a blank on all their guys right now? But they got a lot of young talent that they were going to have to make decisions on anyways. You're not going to be able to pay them all. So if you think you're in a position to win now, and you know you're not going to be able to sign all the guys long-term anyways, try to maximize the window you do have and add a scorer like Durant, who can be a true one option when it comes to scoring, and you can rely on him if you need to in those big moments to get the ball in the basket. And then you send Green and not a ton else. It's not like the Desmond Bain package that Orlando sent to Memphis, right? So by sending someone of maybe a higher caliber of potential in Green, you don't have to send as many picks, so you don't necessarily mortgage your future while you're at it. Phoenix gets Green, and then this year's 10th overall, I believe. So they'll be able to add another piece. Sounds like they want to keep Booker, which to me makes no sense. I think the smart thing to do would be to move him because you could get a really big package for Booker. Beal's not going anywhere. So, look, he's there. Unless you're going to cut him and buy him out, which is crazy expensive. But, I mean, if you do that, then you build around Booker still, and that's the grand plan, cool. You got a 3-4 year window, I think, where Booker can still be that dude, and you can truly build around him. But you should have already done that. You've wasted 3 years of that potential. That's the crazy part. So it'll be interesting to see what Phoenix does. You know, there's still a lot of questions with teams that can't make moves. Denver can't really do anything. Minnesota probably can't really do anything. New York can't really do anything. They could, but it would involve so many moving parts and pieces that it would change your roster, not really add to it. So does it end up changing your roster enough to put you in position to go further than you did last year? Or do you just need to, you know, in Milwaukee's case, in Denver's case, do you just need to be healthy? And then you feel like you could still get over the hump and compete for a title. Now, Milwaukee's a little bit different because Lillard's out next year. The likelihood of him playing at all significantly, even if he were to come back miraculously by the playoffs, is slim to none. So Milwaukee's in an even worse spot than Denver because even if they are still healthy, they're still missing a key piece where Denver healthy everybody back, they still have some talent to be able to do something. What does LA and Luka look like with LeBron and adding a piece, a big or not? Reeves is a nice third option. I've said that. There's a lot of really cool things that are going to get answered or not answered. And when I say not answered, I mean the team did nothing, and we didn't have to worry about any of the questions to begin with in the next couple of days. And the draft is tomorrow night. And Cooper
Nice.
Flagg's going 1. And
Nice.
I am truly amazed at the wide-ranging opinions on what his NBA career is going to look like. I've heard a lot of people say he's going to be Scottie Pippen. And I'm like, at a base level, maybe. But his offensive talent is so much further along than Scottie Pippen's ever was in my mind. Pinky, I don't know how you don't see these things, but
I don't see that level. You're talking about an all-time great and a guy who hasn't stepped on the court in an NBA yet.
That's like majority of people's comps is him and Kawhi Leonard. Majority of people's comps for Cooper Flagg right now.
I think Flagg will be really good. I just don't know if I'm going to put him up on that level. That's pretty. Those two dudes are on a whole different level. So, but
he's going to be so good.
That's all about.
He's going to be so good, barring injury, because Pinky loves to talk about that. Barring injury, this dude's going to be elite, and I've been telling you that for years.
Well, Pinky, give us your opinion here real quick on this.
No, we need to move on. We spent too much time on this, and me and you haven't talked about anything in 20 minutes. So
fair enough. All right. So
maybe you guys should pay attention to the NBA a little bit more so you can talk about it.
I'll maybe
move on.
So Pinky, there were some big NFL things you wanted to just bring up as we were getting into the start, right?
Move on to F1.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I mean, I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna say no.
Okay.
So we got the Austrian, Grand Prix this weekend. Lot of big things happening there. So I guess I will start off first with Ferrari. Actually putting, and I believe it was for an injury or something like that real quick, but they are sitting somebody else in the first practice session instead of Charles Leclerc. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I know Ferrari again has had a lot of issues this season, but they, for whatever reason, are the only team to have finished every lap thus far. So that's pretty wild. Especially with the inconsistent races and the other issues behind the scenes that have been going on.
Yeah, it's wild to hear that stat and then think you hear that and you're like, damn, they got to be first or second in the constructors something, right?
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, they're fourth.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second, they're what? Where are they? They're third. Okay, they moved up a little bit. Oh, they're not catching anybody. Wait,
yeah, no.
How? Where? Yeah, it's wild.
It's absolutely insane. And I mean, Toto Wolff was even on record, the Mercedes boss, saying, don't write off Lewis Hamilton yet. I mean, he was basically parachuted into an all-Italian team. They are still figuring out personalities and things and where the car really should be and what they're trying to build the car for. So if I really think they're going to be late bloomers, if at all, this season. I definitely think next season they'll be a lot stronger. But Ferrari is definitely hurting a little bit, even though they are so far the batting 1,000 here with the races so far. And it's been, I've had seen a stat about Lewis Hamilton, and this is one of the first seasons ever, I believe, in his career that he has not had a podium in these first 10 races. So absolutely insane of a storyline. Loving where this is headed because it just gives so much potential for other things. Got Mercedes coming in too, off their 2 podium finishes this last weekend after the abysmal McLaren performance at the very end of the race 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a good Mercedes turnout for the Austrian Grand Prix. And then the other exciting thing that I didn't even know, just again being relatively new to the sport, Max Verstappen is the only person to win a back-to-back circuit weekend. So in the same season. So he won week 1 and a weekend 2. First one was the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, which we'll be at this weekend. And then the one after that was the Styrian Grand Prix, and this was back in 21. Max has still looked very strong this season, so I wonder if that'll be something that we actually may get to see. A lot of good things coming out with that. And Red Bull still don't really have a second driver, so Yuki Tsunoda is still virtually not there. I still think they pulled Liam Lawson too soon. I definitely wish they would have given him a few more races before.
You know,
making
it's
that
something
sea
I learned
change.
about F1 drivers recently here this last week that I did not realize. They're not signed to season-long contracts per se.
Yep.
They're signed to race by race, maybe 5 races. Like, why would you sign a driver to just 5 races for the season? Like, it's so odd to me that that's
And then you got to
the way
re-sign
they
them.
operate. Like,
And
if you're trying to win a Constructors Cup, you're going to need both of your cars to make sure they're at the top on a regular basis. That's not going to happen if your driver only has a 5-race contract. That means, like, you could like what he's doing, but maybe a lot of other teams do too. And now you just opened your ass up to watch him leave because somebody else is going to give him, like, I'm like, that's wild, dude. Name another sport where you have a contract that doesn't go through at least the season.
In one of George Russell's interviews these last few days, he went on record saying if every driver had no contract for next year, Max Verstappen would be the number 1 for every single team.
Yeah, that's been. I mean, teams have said that.
So
I don't know what they're called, captains, presidents.
How big are these contracts that these guys are signing?
I don't know. I haven't really.
It all depends on who. I mean, yeah, Caleb's out. So let me see. Let's just look up Max's.
Because I'm just thinking, like, if you only have a contract for like 5 races, and you do really well in those 5 races, now you get to negotiate a much higher deal.
So his current contract with Red Bull is worth over $275 million for the last 5 years, with a base salary of $55 million per year. This contract was signed back in 2022 and is extended until 28.
So some racers have pretty big.
Well, when you're Max Verstappen, and that's kind of to be expected, where like Kimi.
So when you're Lewis Hamilton, Max, the top guys, you have a
more secure contract. Seat in most cases. Like one of the other big ones that I was actually going to bring up here was Valtteri, and possibly he's currently a backup driver for Mercedes, but and it's been rumored for a while, but made a very nonchalant, we'll say, post about him taking a Cadillac seat for next year. With them coming in, which that means that's 1 seat filled, so who's going to be seat number 2? But they got to build a whole thing around that, so still a lot of details to come there. It's still rumor. Nothing is done until it's in ink, so
and Verstappen's contract, isn't his up after next year?
No, his is until 2028. It is until 2028 still.
I feel like he's got an out clause or something coming up before that. I
believe he does. Yeah, 2024 to 2028 is that's current. He signed a 5-year, $275 million contract.
Yeah, but they're talking. I keep hearing people talk about how he's been looking at other teams. So does he have an out in the contract after the first year or something? Because
that might be getting too deep for what we have access to.
Maybe right now. But I keep hearing it talked about. So there's something going on there because you don't talk to other teams 3 years in advance to see if you're going to leave. So that, again, we're new to the sport. We got some catching up to do and learning. So maybe you do in F1. I don't know.
We'll that'll be coming. That'll be coming. So we'll get there. But a lot of cool F1 stuff. And I mean to kind of bridge our topics here as we transition to nonsense. Going back to Lewis Hamilton here. Being an executive producer for F1 definitely did it right. He definitely had a lot of commentary on it. He basically, in this case, and I don't usually throw this out just because the man is already a GOAT in the movie industry. For this movie, he was the Tom Cruise for this team. I mean, even to the point where he is like, no, that's not this turn, it's that turn. With all the sound and how all of it was designed and how they shot everything. Lewis Hamilton is his IQ for this is absolutely off the charts. And I definitely think the movie was all the better for it. It wasn't just kind of a put together thing. It definitely, I mean, they had 2 years to do it with the SAG-AFTRA strikes. So they definitely really buckled down and made a killer movie.
Who's the director?
Joseph Krasinski, who did Top Gun Maverick.
So apparently he went to Brad Pitt already having Lewis Hamilton on board and told Brad Pitt such that he went to Lewis Hamilton first, because if he didn't have Lewis, he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do what he wanted to do with the movie. And then Brad went on to talk about, at least in this interview I saw, basically stating that the ability for Lewis to add credibility to the movie where there's things that they weren't going to be able to do just because it's a movie. Like you're not going to do what's factual because that's just not going to be good for the movie. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So they're going to have to embellish certain things about an F1 track and a race and the setup and the way things start or stop, like little things here and there that they're going to have to make not factual or accurate. And him being able to say, nah, on turn 12 of
this
whatever
track, it
whatever
sounds
track,
like this.
Exactly. For him to do that and add that level of credibility and authenticity and realism to the movie just took it to another level and made them all feel like there was this special thing happening. And I thought that was really cool to hear from Brad Pitt.
Absolutely. And conceptually, before it became the F1 movie, it was originally to possibly be the Days of Thunder sequel, but then it transitioned into F1. So thought that was a pretty neat fact about the movie itself. But they really did their research, and actually, I don't want to steal Pinky's thunder on this because he said it, not me, as we were walking out of the theater about how good of a sports movie this was. So Pinky, please enlighten us on your take.
So, it's a really good sports movie when at the end of the movie you're shedding a tear at the outcome of the movie. You're shedding a tear. I'm a little emotional as a 45-year-old. It happens. There's certain things that just get me. It got me. I was in. It made me feel something, right? Which again, when I go to a movie, I want to be entertained, and then to go to that next level, can you make me feel something?
Sure.
Right? I'm easily entertained, guilty as charged. But to take it to that next level and make me actually leave the theater feeling something is when I'm like, man, that is a damn good movie. And I'd be more than happy to watch it again. And I will tell you, like, I am not a huge F1 guy, obviously. I don't have the time at the moment to try to invest into it. I'm letting you guys do it and educate me. But one of the things they see in the movie, and that's where you could tell that's an actual, Lewis Hamilton, a racer, went into meetings and told them, here's what we need to have. There's multiple times throughout the movie, they're having a pre-race meeting with the whole team. Everybody's there. What's plan A? What's plan B? And they're going over, we need to have these tires for the first so much of the track, and then we need these tires for the middle and these tires for the end. Like, you don't really get that in most movies. But they were able to put that information in an interesting way that you really didn't think about it. I didn't think about it until Robert just started talking about Lewis Hamilton being a producer of the movie and providing that insight. And then it was like, oh, well, that makes sense while they had these parts of the movie where they were educating you on, like, I know you like kind of numbers and stats and things that kind of like equal into performance. This movie has all of that. It talks about all the details that go into shaving just a millisecond off of your time.
That's part of the reason I got interested in the sport and NASCAR, motorsports in general, is because you start learning. It's not just some dude turning a wheel and mashing on the gas. The intricacies involved with these teams and their setups and their strategies and their decision making, their testing is wild. So, and then to see them try to go out and then try to put those things into action and performance is even more fun to watch if you start learning the chessboard, if you will.
And that's what. Oh, go ahead, Pinky.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that's what also I think just being so involved with F1 now and getting into the sport and understanding the sport, it also gave me the feeling that you don't have to be an F1 person to enjoy this, but you will be an F1 person by the end of the movie because of all of the intelligence behind it and how they built the car and how this specific car, and this isn't really spoiler or anything, but they built the car for combat in a very unconventional way to start winning races. And that is, some of the things you don't get in just watching the race, but when you actually break it down, you really see, oh my gosh, there are all of these little intricacies on the car that are helping them basically progress and be that overtake.
Why'd they do that, Robert?
Why did they make the car for combat?
Yeah.
So that way they could overtake them in the turns rather than the straights. It was a very unconventional way to do it.
Easy, gentlemen. You're starting to get very...
It fits their driver. Pretty
close. It's right on the verge.
Those changes fit their driver. The driver drove the car that way. So if they could make the car better for the way he was an expert in driving, made it better overall.
Yeah.
And it really gives, in the way that they train, and they have, this is the new age training, this is the old way of training. It really puts into your mind of, there are so many ways to prepare for this, but there will be no real test until you're on the track.
And it's got
Pinky, you just said something interesting. Sorry to interrupt real quick, but you said something interesting I think ties into your love of especially football, in a conversation we've had many times, and that square peg round hole idea that the NFL has. And if you're not going to build your playbook and your play calling to the talent, and you're going to try to force the talent into some situations that they're not good at, you're not going to get the top performance. So to hear, you obviously it's something Robert and I understand as we're following the sport now, but to hear you pick up on that from watching the movie, and the fact that drivers don't all drive the same. So find their strength and then make the car react to those strengths, build around it. That's real similar, wouldn't you say, to the game plan and square peg round hole idea from the NFL?
Absolutely. And it's a mirror image of itself. And that's what ended up, again, making them successful in this, is because they finally realized, can we change what we're doing to fit the driver we have? Right. And same thing in football. When you get a certain amount of chess pieces, you got to do what those chess pieces do well. Yeah. You can't just say, I'm going to keep running what I'm doing, when you have players that don't quite fit that, that exact picture.
Find those tie-ins, ladies and gentlemen. Sports have them more than you think, and you start finding those similarities or those things that you can equate to the same thing. It allows you to find your foot into the door to that new sport, and once you have your foot in the door, that's half the battle into starting to enjoy something new that you may not have thought you would have before.
This movie was so good. Again, I had some tears at the end, so obviously I felt like it was good. But there are moments, the way they filmed it, you feel like you're in the car. You Absolutely. Feel like you are gliding through the track. Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
And this is not, I mean, I will say this because that is my own opinion, but this is also coming from other people that we had gone to see it with, because the production team who did F1 were also behind Top Gun Maverick. They were even saying that this is slightly better or on par with Top Gun Maverick as far as the movie goes, which I mean is an incredible feat. And I mean, you have that nostalgia piece with Tom Cruise and it being, you know, Maverick and Goose's son and whatever, but this was a true original story to that element that you didn't have to have that nostalgia to it. You don't need to be a big fan of it. You go into this movie and you're left going, whoa.
Not having seen it, I would say I could see that just from the standpoint that, I mean, if we're being honest, it's easier to be able to film an F1 movie than it is a fighter jet movie. So the ability to be able to get a car on a track is a lot easier than taking a jet up in the air. It's just simply the case. Dollars and cents tell you such. So just from that aspect alone, I could see how that would give it just a little bit more of an edge to be able to have a little bit more of that feels of the moment. That draw you in, whereas you know you can get a little bit more racing and car experience than you can sitting behind the stick in the jet.
I mean, as a sports movie goes, this is maybe the best sports movie I've seen in a long time.
Whoa,
in a long time.
And Pinky's not an F1 dude. He might start paying more attention now. It sounds like, but this isn't somebody who like follows the sport and loves it. That's me and Robert. So it's cool to hear that you're seeing things that you can draw comparisons from.
I mean,
it got you in the feels. You loved it as a sports movie, not just a movie. It's cool to hear you see that.
I've looked at tickets for the F1 in Vegas for the last 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
let's go.
If we're being honest, though, that's not so you can go watch the race. It's more because you love Vegas and you know that's a hell of a party, which I don't blame you. You're dead nuts right on with that.
It's a good reason to go to Vegas. Let's just say that.
Sure.
But even one of the guys we went with last night was like, so, and I told him like, because he's like, is there really a Grand Prix in Vegas? I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, we should go. And I'm like, dude,
they're actually making it affordable now too, so I hope they continue that.
We looked at tickets. Junior and I looked at tickets on the way home. There's a couple that are, they're okay, but I'm assuming they're not really great tickets overall. But they were at least affordable.
Yeah, and I found some. I'm waiting to see if they keep the track the same, because if they do, there's actually some hotels that you can actually just book, and we could be chilling, watching the race from our room, hanging out. And then walking the paddock and stuff is free. So there might be some ways we can enjoy it even a little bit more fun. I'm just saying. I'm already putting some plans together. I just got to make sure Vegas stays what they're trying to do and make it an affordable. Try to bring the family to Vegas to watch an F1 race. We'll see if they continue to do that or not.
Sign me up.
Yeah, for real.
So Caleb, I will say this. I don't know what you need to do to make this happen. Take the wife, go to this movie. This needs to be seen in theaters. It is an excellent movie. So wrapping up with the F1 movie, I know we talked about this last week. I'm bringing it up again because this dude just will not shut up. I am excited for Superman. However, quit shoving it down my throat. Quit telling me things that are in this movie. Quit telling me who's actors and who's voicing and doing what. Let it be a surprise. That's part of what made Guardians so great. And when you made it the first time, is all of these little nuances and things that you put in there, and you're like, oh, well, nobody's found this Easter egg or whatever, and it's still being sought after. Dude, I would have loved to have gone into the movie and found out that Palm and Bradley Cooper were voicing some of the AI bots in the Fortress of Solitude. Don't come out and tell me that immediately when this movie's a couple weeks away. Save it as a surprise, because you've already spoiled a majority of this movie. I am still excited to see it, but like, James Gunn, shut up. You've done enough promoting of the movie. We get it. Move on. We already are going to go see it. It's outsold Fantastic Four in tickets. It's fine. Let the movie do its job. Please. Stay away. Kevin Feige's not talking about all of these other things that are happening in the Marvel world right now. He's keeping a tight lip. Loose lips shank ships, dude. Like, shut up. Let this movie surprise everyone. Period. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Nothing makes me more upset than when a whole entire movie is spoiled for me before I even go and see it. Period. I don't know how you all feel. I mean, Caleb, I know that's how you feel. You definitely want to have it be your experience and not somebody ruin it for you in that case at all. And I mean, I'm already feeling like Superman is in many cases ruined at this point because there are so many things being already given.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming from the director or the producer and he's telling me how I have to feel about the movie. Like if there's a plot twist or story twist that like people have completely butchered or gotten wrong and you want to clear the air after the fact, like, okay, cool. But that also tells me, like, if you have to go in and you have to continuously tell me how I have to feel about the movie before I've even seen it, it doesn't give me good feels that the movie's going to be any good going into the movie. It makes me feel like the movie is filmed such that if I don't specifically see it and enjoy it the way you're telling me to, then I'm going to walk out saying it wasn't a good movie. Which to me would mean then it's not a good movie because you're having to explain things to me. And then that means you left a lot out or you didn't do a good job telling your own story, or it just leads to a lot of questions for me personally when I hear people talk like that about a movie.
And today he even released a first look at one of the villains in the movie. I'm like, dude, stop. Stop. I get you are so in tune with social media. Here's your gold flipping star, man, but quit ruining a movie that I actually have more excitement for over than Fantastic Four. But again, I said it already, F1 will be the movie of the summer. I really believe that. Superman at this point it just should have been straight to streaming at this point. Should have just been released on HBO Max and we should have been over. Like, that's
out of bounds. That's out of pocket. That's out of pocket, Robert.
They have pushed him across the line. Right into the deep end he's gone, my good friend. Pinky, bring him back. Throw that lifeline out there for him quickly.
No, again, you keep, like, at this point, Predator Killer of Killers should have been in the theaters, and nobody's expected that coming, and nothing was spoiled. It was a great movie. And then now I've already got basically the first, second, and third acts of Superman already out there in the world. Like, come on.
I was not prepared for this level of rant from Robert this evening.
I'm mad, dude. Like, Superman is one of my favorite characters of all time, and he is sitting here ruining it for me.
Let's see if you can reel him back in a little bit here, Pinky.
I can't reel him out because he's out of pocket. He's out of bounds. I agree. They have shown way too much in the trailers. I can agree with that. But what they have shown are so many moving pieces that we don't know how they all fit together. How are you going to relay this into a story because of how many moving pieces that they've shown? That's what I'm still interested in seeing. Can James Gunn, because they've shown us so much, they've got a big-ass monster, and they've got the Green Lantern guy, and they've got Nicholas Hoult playing Lex Luthor, which he looks awesome.
Guy Gardner, not Green Lantern guy, just to be clear.
He's part of the Green Lantern Corps, okay?
He's Green Lantern right now.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Not
like
part
the
of,
current, like
Green Lantern's Hal Jordan for me, okay?
Like, hang on, Robert. For us that want to know more and are trying to learn, when you say he is the Green Lantern right now, do you mean like in the current comics that are being written as we speak in the Marvel timeline?
Oh.
I mean, in the DC timeline,
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner is the Green Lantern?
Guy Gardner's been around for a long time. This is after Hal Jordan. But we're getting a Lantern series bringing Hal Jordan in, and he's an older Green Lantern. It's not like he's young or just getting the powers. Like, this has already been around for a while.
Is he from Earth? Is he Earth's Green Lantern?
Yes.
Okay, so...
And he's a dick.
Yeah. I'm good with all of that.
He's in Peacemaker, too.
And so is Hawk Girl.
Is Hal Jordan the original Green Lantern?
No. He's
All
the
I know
second
about
one.
Green Lantern is what Ryan Reynolds put on film for us. That's
No.
my extensive
all-
knowledge of
no,
Green Lantern.
No.
So I know the name Hal Jordan. I know Paradox, and then I've researched enough to know the true like what Paradox really should have been and things of that nature, right? Like I get all of that. And
Actually,
I know the movie didn't do great at whatever.
Hal
But-
Jordan is pretty much like the original.
Okay.
And then
You like
you've
if you want
got-
to, he's the quintessential Green Lantern.
You've got John Stewart as kind of the second one.
That's
And then
the
Guy
Black
Gardner.
Green Lantern, right? That's the Black guy Green Lantern.
Which is what
Yeah.
the Lantern series is going to be doing on HBO with the older Hal Jordan.
Is he the current Green Lantern in comic books?
I'm not reading the current DC line because they're so fractured in doing so many other things.
They've got, like,
but Guy Gardner is like
one
an
and-
old. He's like an old Green Lantern.
Ish, yes.
Why would
He-
you bring him into now if he's not the current like?
Because Hal Jordan isn't ready for this universe yet. So that's why, because Guy Gardner is going to fit this personality of the DCU better than Hal Jordan will be, but he will be introduced.
Is Guy
Because-
Gardner like a popular, well-known, liked version of Green Lantern, or is this kind of
No,
like a one-off that once again James Gunn is taking a side character and trying to boost it into the spotlight? I feel like that's his whole career at this point.
The best way to explain Guy Gardner is he's very egotistical. He's very like on the move, like snap decision making. He's impulsive and prone to anger issues, and very, very difficult to be on a team with.
First appearance, March of 1968. He's been around a while.
Yeah, Guy Gardner, and he's got a bowl cut and everything. Like he's a very interesting Lantern. But
And there can only be one Lantern at a time, right? Like they can't all be Lantern at the same time, can they?
well, you have the Green Lantern Corps, which makes up
Right,
a
but
lot of
they're
different-
all from different sectors
Yes.
protecting. I'm talking about like our sector, for lack of a better word, Earth's Green Lantern. They can only be one per sector at a time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
To my
Learning on the fly here,
understanding.
people. Okay, I'm trying.
So, and it is very much because again, well, and that's where James Gunn is. I don't know where he's going with this, because at this point in the DCU, we're getting an older Hal Jordan. We're getting a John Stewart. We're having Guy Gardner currently. So where all of that is going to tie in, we're not entirely sure yet. And that's what is, and leaving a big question mark going forward on a lot of these DCU stories, because again, right, we are getting Superman, and then a month later we're getting Peacemaker, which features a lot of these. They're not the Justice League of America yet. I forget what what they called them here. James Gunn already brought that up too. Dude, shut your mouth. And where a lot of these other storylines are starting to converge. Because you also have Rick Flag Sr., who is also now coming into one of the main folds of the Superman movie, who we also just got in Creature Commandos. So there's, again, a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things
is
being told
Peacemaker
and
a big name
interwoven.
in DC? Like, is that a normal big name?
No.
No.
Was he like a normal big name for Suicide Squad? Why was he featured in that to begin with?
That was James Gunn's version of it. And
Well,
that's
no, because he was in the
technically not
original
canon.
before Gunn took over, wasn't he?
No, he was
No.
not. He was
No.
not.
He was added into the second one.
Okay.
Because you have the Suicide Squad with Will Smith and Margot, and
Oh yeah, that's right. Jared
and then-
Leto's Joker. Okay,
Yes.
yeah. I remember.
that is
now. My
not
bad.
part of this. Then you
Right.
have
Yeah,
the
not part.
Suicide
And that's
Squad,
right. That had the pyro guy and the boomerang guy. And okay,
Captain
yeah.
Boomerang, yeah. The Flash's one of Flash's nemesis.
So this is what I'm
but
starting
yes.
to think. Like, and this is what worries me a little bit. And this is coming from, again, very novice with comics and things of that nature. But James Gunn seems to be, and I don't know how else to say this, and I mean this in like the best way possible, so it's not meant to be derogatory or anything, but like the nerd who didn't necessarily have a lot of friends and was so deep into comics, he went and found like characters that weren't like the the mainline people. Like he wanted to find the offbeat, the B side, the B movie kind of characters, and he fell in love with those. And his whole life is now devoted to bringing those characters to screen rather than like the main characters that everybody would know and love. And it worked great with Guardians of the Galaxy because one, the movie was awesome. So props to James Gunn. I'm not trying to like take away from what he's capable of. But two, I think it worked really well because you had all the other main characters. Now it sounds like he's kind of trying to do like almost like one main character in Superman and then all these other side characters to push the universe initially. And as somebody who doesn't know a lot, it feels like a really easy way to fail. Because like Robert, you know, you told me about it. You gave me some back stuff. I tried to get into Creature Commando. Could not at all.
It's great.
I just didn't care about any of those characters. And Weasel's story is brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Dude.
And even that, I was still like, I'm not feeling this. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me. Clayface, I could give a shit less.
Which we're getting a live action
honestly,
Clayface, which I talked about last week.
Could give a shit less about that character. That's like to me bringing Sandman and making him one of the main movie attractions in the MCU. Like, it's ridiculous to me. And I could be wrong. But I'm just saying from somebody who doesn't know a lot but knows enough to know what we're talking about as far as it's a comic book universe. It's Batman, Superman. I get it. The joke. So you're bringing some things in where I'm like, really? That's how you want to start this universe. And to me, it's like, I hope they're good. And James Gunn does some pretty good stuff, but you're taking some big risks here to start.
So, and again, I mean, that personally...
And I do love Peacemaker. I'll throw that out there. Pinky and I have talked about it a lot. We love Peacemaker.
Dude,
and that's one of
I'm so excited.
Peacemaker season 2 is that we're going to be watching that premiere, Pinky. I know you're not a freaking... I can't watch it week to week, but
I'll be watching that week to week, Robert. Don't worry.
Yes!
Guaranteed that will be a week to week watch for me.
And to go off of what you just said there, Caleb, too, with taking a lot of risks, I mean, that's one thing that DC hasn't really done, to be quite honest.
Okay.
And that is what Marvel has now shied away from. Guardians of the Galaxy was one of Marvel's biggest money makers. Nobody cared. Nobody knew about it. They were like, it's Marvel. It's going to matter. We need to go see it. And it became a sleeper hit. I mean, again, casting Chris Pratt.
I had heard of Star-Lord before. Didn't really know anything about the character that he was part of Guardians of the Galaxy. So that was like a huge introduction to me, and I loved it.
And it's not even the original Guardians lineup. That happens in the second one.
Learned that, and yeah.
It really gives merit to, okay, like James Gunn has an idea, but is it too big of an idea for it to work? That is my fear. I love the risks that they are taking. Peacemaker was a risk. Hit. While I know it didn't hit for you, Caleb, Creature Commandos for a lot of other people was a big hit. So to see where a lot of this is now going to develop and go again, just like I said about Fantastic Four, there's a lot of chips being put into the pot on just this Superman movie hitting. There's a lot of chips being put into the pot for Marvel to make Fantastic Four hit because while
what's the next movie on the schedule for DC? After Superman.
While he pulls that up, I will say it is interesting that James Gunn decided to start his universe with basically an Avengers movie, right? I mean, that's pretty much what we're hearing this is going to be for the most part, is like the formation of the Justice League, for lack of a better way of putting it, maybe, possibly.
It will be Superman. It'll be Supergirl, and then Clayface will be the next two big movie projects.
So two Superman movies,
Clayface is a movie? I thought Clayface was a TV show.
Nope, they're making Clayface into a feature film. Yeah, so the Supergirl movie with Millie Alcock, who played the younger Targaryen from House of the Dragon, is playing the character.
Very interesting way to start a universe, it feels like. Dropping you kind of right in the middle and going from there.
I don't find Clayface as a movie. That just doesn't seem interesting to me.
Yeah, and this will be Supergirl will be introducing Jason Momoa's Lobo as well.
Mm.
So
Wait, has it been? I didn't know that was officially confirmed. Has that been officially confirmed?
He is
Oh, yeah,
Lobo.
yeah.
That is happening. They've already done that there. If
I
I'm not
missed that
mistaken,
somehow, I guess. Okay, cool.
I believe Supergirl has already wrapped principal photography.
I know we had talked about it at one point. Maybe we were talking about it because he was announced, and I just forgot. But I know we were talking about how it's his he was made to play that, and it's almost too perfect. And I was questioning whether or not I'm going to see Lobo or I'm going to see Jason Momoa playing Lobo like I see The Rock playing every character. I do remember having that conversation. I guess I didn't realize it was official.
Yeah, he is official.
Cool.
And so they did wrap principal photography in the middle of May. So now they are doing all of the work on finalizing VFX and whatnot and doing some other cuts. And eventually, of course, there'll be some reshoots for some things. But that is on the next slate to come out.
What's that potential release date?
June 26, 2026. So basically a year from now.
Okay.
So, which, I mean, again, super excited for. We got a lot of filler things in the meantime, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, maybe Superman will be so bomb that it will redeem James Gunn in Robert's eyes, but I think it's going to have to be really bomb to do.
I have tickets for 6 o'clock on July 11th. I am excited to go. I will be wearing my Superman stuff.
Let's do 9 o'clock on July 10th. Let's do that
on Thursday. Okay.
As we're speaking, they're looking at tickets, ladies and gentlemen.
I've already bought tickets.
I love these guys.
I have tickets to F1 again on Friday night. Like, what do you mean?
Well, I'm gonna watch wrestling all day Saturday and Sunday, so I can't go those days. But Thursday there's a 9 o'clock showing in the Dolby. We could do that.
So, movies.
Word. Let's do some final thoughts. Wrapping it up, Robert. You've been talking here for a little bit on everything. What are you feeling and thinking here to wrap things up this fine evening?
F1 is back this weekend. I'm so excited, especially after watching the movie. I am excited to see it again on Friday night, but I'm really excited for the Austrian race. Mercedes finally may have found a good car, bearing that McLaren, messes up again or whatever happens there. And then Metallica with my boy Pinky on Sunday. Going to be so excited for that. Going to be a very long day, but I am very, very stoked. So again, love hanging out with my buddies.
Get that midday nap in. You'll be fine.
You know it. Been excited to hang with my boys. It's been great. Again, Pinky, I didn't say it earlier. Thank you for skipping wrestling last night to come and experience F1 with me yesterday. That was a real awesome treat. So again, I just love getting to share that with you. And then Caleb, eventually we'll be getting some of that out there for you too when time allows. But that's it, man. I just love it. I just love you guys. I love doing this. This is good stuff.
Nice, Pinky.
Yeah, man, it's Metallica week. My wife not even going to see me. I'm gone Friday. I'm watching wrestling with Ron on Saturday, and I'm back at Metallica on Sunday. So I'm out.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Dead season doesn't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a sports fan and you still believe in the dead season, you are
Sounds
doing
like
yourself
you need
a
to find
disservice.
another hobby. You need to find another sport hobby and better get on it quick.
Doing yourself a disservice. You need some help. You need something to watch. You need something to keep you entertained. You come talk to us. We have things to get you involved, okay? Even if I have to go talk to you and figure out how to get you involved in a dynasty football league, I will find something to make sure your dead season is no longer an issue for you, okay?
Get it.
On that note, do not waste those moments with your family, friends, loved ones, inner circle, whoever you may consider that to be. Cherish those moments. Take advantage of them whenever they come up. Father's Day just happened. 4th of July is coming up. Movies are coming up. There's plenty of reasons to get together. Until next week, we appreciate everybody for supporting us in any way that you do. Hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking. Like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate you. Till next week. Out.
We out.